Hello and welcome to Some Dude Shed. Today we're back to normal. We are playing our true or false game. We're each telling each other crazy stories from years gone by, and we'll figure out if they're real or not.
Back to normal?
Well, as normal as it can be in the shed.
Well, we did have a Dublin trip, didn't we, yesterday?
Yeah,
which was fun.
True. Dublin. It's all right.
It's it's just a smelly city, isn't it?
I'm not really wealthy enough to enjoy it.
Yeah, every time I go there, the parking seems to be Dublin in price.
Yeah.
Furious. The parking situation yesterday was furious.
It's outrageously expensive.
Yeah, like €3 for a bottle of water.
Yeah. A bottle of water. It wasn't even a bottle, it was a cup.
Aye.
Anyway, so where should we start today?
I think I'll go first, Mr. Gray. Right.
Eager beaver. Let's go.
Guess.
World War fucking II.
How'd you know?
All right, let's see.
Apparently we're still living in World War II. And,
I wish.
All right, so...
Right, so January 1943. Eastern Front. Stalingrad. German army surrounded. They're on the verge of giving up. There's pockets of German resistance. At this point, Stalingrad is just a wrecked mess. All the buildings are collapsed and are hollowed out, and it's just rubble everywhere.
just like today.
Yeah, Stalingrad was... They kind of just... They didn't know when to stop, really.
No, it basically just came into one...
They kept fighting for so long, there was nothing really fighting for, really.
It just became a massive rubbish pile, and German units just basically broke down into small holdouts. They were run out of ammunition and food and just supplies, and it actually got to the point where they had to go out into the destroyed buildings and basically forage for things to eat. But yeah, Stalingrad actually had a bit of a tunnel system going on in terms of sewage and things like that. But also below, major apartment blocks would have tunnels interconnecting the buildings. But the problem getting to those tunnels is the buildings had collapsed. The Germans basically went into the tunnels and hid out in them. But finding the entrance to these tunnels, once the buildings collapsed, there must have been another way in, became quite difficult. So the Soviets came up with the idea to send...
Giant rats.
No.
Right, okay.
I was getting worried there. Someone was going to be...
I was going to make a joke there, but no.
Well, they send... It must be some kind of animal.
They sent small people.
Or like children, or just small...
Small men.
Right.
Into the... They could dig into the rubble. They could fit in through all the destruction and climb their way into where the entrance would be to the tunnel if the building had been standing. So they would basically dig their way in, and they'd be able to work their way in through the crevices of all the rubble and be able to tell if the Germans were in there or not.
So they sent in a bunch of Peter Dinklages. God bless.
Everyone's got their purpose.
He's fit for the job.
They actually made a company of these people, and they were called the Mini Gladiators.
Fuck off. This isn't real. This is not real.
Have you ever seen like Russian World War II uniforms?
Yeah.
Big
It's
coats.
not terribly exciting.
So they had like thick body warmers, and then they had like a bit of a plate thing going on. But they kind of tried to do that for the men that had to dig into the rubble, so they wouldn't be just constantly cut up with the stones and things.
Fair enough.
They kind of look like mini bell divers is the only way I can describe it. But
Fun size.
But they didn't have cast iron helmets. They just had like miniature Russian World War II gear.
Okay.
So anyway, whenever they would locate the Germans hiding underground, usually they would be fine to get into the tunnel access. The Germans wouldn't be paying attention because, buildings collapsed above them that part. They don't need to watch it. But anyway, they would be able to confirm the Germans are down there, and then they would be able to make it back. And then several of them would go down with high explosives and do their best to lay the explosives over the top of where the tunnel would be and try to collapse it on top of the Germans.
Right. That's quite clever, I suppose.
Yeah. So there was a company of about 60 of them. They were crucial in weeding out the Germans in Stalingrad.
So was this... Now, when we say small people, are we talking about people with dwarfism, or are we talking about, like, kids
Jockeys.
who might have been... Yeah, like people who may have been malnourished when young, so they grew up, like, only 5 foot tall and really skinny?
We're talking about dwarfs.
Dwarves, really?
Dwarves.
Okay.
Actual proper...
Proper dwarfs.
Okay.
Right.
The Soviets didn't quite believe in sending kids straight into battle. They would use them as messengers, but they didn't believe in letting them kill themselves.
Oh,
How
yeah.
lovely of the Russians.
I mean, yeah, even Stalin has his limits.
They can go work in the factories and maybe lose their hands, but they're not allowed to join in the battle.
Get the lung.
What are you thinking, Mr. Black?
I think it's bullshit.
You got any other questions?
A company of 60 small folks. Did you finish?
No.
Yeah.
You did?
No, I did.
Oh, well, yeah.
But yeah,
we got the
basically-
whole story.
Basically, the Russians used dwarfs in World War II to tunnel into the rubble of destroyed buildings in Stalingrad in order to seek out the Germans.
I got one more question.
Mhm.
Were they armed with? Were they actually armed whenever they did all their tunnel crawling and stuff?
Well, I'm assuming they must have had a sidearm or something.
Must have had something.
Well, you're fitting into a tight space, so you can't exactly take a machine gun or a rifle, so I'm going to assume you're allowed a pistol, at least.
Yeah, they've had to be given something because what if they bosses?
And a sword, which was actually just a knife for a normal person.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking, I think it was. They had a battalion. So you're saying
No,
is
they
this
didn't.
also part of the
No,
true or false?
there was about 60 of them.
So this is part of the true or false. They had a battalion of 60.
Well, it's
Ooh,
not a
I-
battalion, but a company.
I got
Company
one.
of
I got
60.
one more question, which I would actually quite like. How many did any of them survive? Because I know the casualty rate in Stalingrad was ridiculous. So did any of them survive the war?
Doesn't say.
Doesn't say.
Because it's fucking made up. That's why.
Well, I'm going to assume that they're horror handling explosives. I'm sure they died.
Well, yeah, but there were 60 of them, so you would have thought maybe one. So you're saying false? I'm
Oh,
guessing.
well, there's 3 heroes of the Soviet Union awarded that little red medal.
3 heroes. Okay, so at least 3 of them survived.
Well, yeah, that's one. It's like getting the Medal of Honor. It could be posthumous.
Oh, okay. And never mind then. I'm guessing Mr. Black is saying false.
Yeah.
I'm going to say true. Because the communist ideal is that everybody takes part and does their part. So if you can make use of somebody who's small, then you do that. So yeah, I'm going to say true.
I'll say false.
You're going false.
Aye.
You're going true.
I'll go true.
Happy enough.
Yeah, sure.
I completely made it up.
I knew it.
Oh, it's a shame. It actually sounds like a good idea.
It kind of is a shame it's fake. Oh my god, I could have dressed them as Ewoks.
Yeah, I just remembered. Hold on, this is the Russians we're talking about. They weren't
And-
exactly known for their
They're running
efficiency
going,
in the war.
And see the thing about the kids, I have no idea whether they used kids in the war or not. I just had to use that bit to not take away from my story.
Mm.
What was the youngest stage though for like I'm pretty sure they were like 15, 14-year-olds
Well, you're talking
fighting.
about.
I think the youngest person who was on the beach in D-Day was 14.
Because he lied.
Does that happen?
He lied about his age to join up, and
How
so
old are you? 14, 18.
so God knows in the Eastern Front, God knows. I don't even think they probably would have been as rigorous with the checks.
It was much worse in the First World War. Because I remember reading something back in school about the First World War. There was a kid who was only 12 who managed to get in, and that was in the British Army.
They probably just went by facial hair. Like if you're like a 13-year-old already growing a mustache, like you're going
You
in.
just draw it on.
Yeah.
No, sorry. The youngest person on the D-Day landings was 15.
Mm.
Mr. John Cornwall.
Did he live?
Yeah, he survived.
Good on.
Oh, there you go. Wasn't so bad. Sure, he grew up nice and well adjusted. So moving on.
Moving on, yes. We're 15 minutes in. This is dragging.
Is
'Cause
is yours funny?
Oh, it could be.
Mine's not the most funny, so I can just go next if you want.
No, I'll go next.
Okay, you go next.
I'll go next. It might be funny. You never know. So, have you ever heard of the idea of investing in a design before the invention that's needed actually exists?
You mean like, what do you call that website? GoFundMe and things like that?
Right.
Sure, I don't know what that is. Like, what do you call it? What's the big one?
Oh,
GoFundMe,
No, GoFundMe's for like
like causes and stuff.
causes. Indiegogo is the project one.
Indiegogo, but there's another one, the big one.
Kickstarter.
Kickstarter, yes.
Yeah, well, kind of not really like that. You're kind of making... So, story of this is basically an infrastructure that was built, quite a big one, was built without actually a practical machine to go on it.
What century is this set in, sorry?
The 1800s.
Well, that's relatively recent for you.
Relatively recent for me, yes.
Which means there's probably no written record of it actually happening, and it's all bollocks.
1800s?
And the facts are sketchy.
1800s?
1800s it would be.
Oh, the facts are probably sketchy on it, though. You know what I mean? The further
Oh,
back
no,
you go.
this is pretty well documented, as I will now demonstrate.
Oh.
This is all about the London Underground. The London Underground was opened in 1866. The first line, that was the Metropolitan.
Mhm.
Okay, so the problem was, or the thing that they didn't have at the time, was a sensible train to go on it. Basically, they were using steam engines, steam trains
In the underground?
in the underground. So as you can imagine, it was horrible. There was smoke and steam everywhere.
I'm gonna say false because you would just die.
Well, I wouldn't go that far just yet. So they did have a few things to stop people from just dying of asphyxiation as soon as they went in the tunnel. Steam trains had tanks on the side which could catch the steam that was coming off, so it didn't just go everywhere or fill up the tunnels, make it like a sauna. And they also used special types of coal and coke to make less smoke. They also had open sections of the underground as well, because the first line wasn't that far down. So some bits were like a trench more than a tunnel, and that's when they just sort of let off their steam and let all their pollution out. But yeah, what is amazing is that they made this completely like in the dark of what was to come, because they made the underground in 1866. The first ever electric train prototype was not invented until 1879. So so a good 13 years later. And then they first used electric trains in the underground in 1890. So
1890, really?
1890. Yeah.
Didn't think it would be that early.
So 34 years they were running steam trains in the underground tunnels under London.
Oof. We've come a long way in terms of eco-friendliness, haven't we?
Well, I don't think the harm to the environment is really the biggest problem. It's more the harm to your lungs.
So is that it?
That's basically it. Yes. Did they use steam trains in the underground?
Well, I just realised I was surprised whenever you said that they had electric trains that early on. So they must have used steam trains. I'm gonna go yes, because what other way would they have had the part?
I just pictured like sort of hopped on like those little like hand carts you push up and down like in the mine carts.
Well, that would be very inefficient.
Mm.
You could have horse-drawn stuff as well. You have horse-drawn stuff in the underground. No, that's a terrible idea, because then you got to scoop the poop out every day.
I'm nearly sure I heard about the underground in some other way. Like, was the underground not initially made for some other reason as opposed to actually trains?
No, it was made for trains. That was what it was originally.
Because surely they would have had the foresight to be like, well, we're going to be breathing this shit in. You know, it's not good.
He's one of the 1800s.
Let's
Health
have to wear
and
your
safety
face mask
wasn't
before you went in.
Well, this was around the same period. They were blowing smoke up each other's bottoms to resuscitate each other.
Oh, actually, yeah, true.
I'm gonna say true, because I didn't think it surprised me that the battery or the electric train was that early. So yeah, I can't think of any other way that would have powered it. So I'm gonna go true.
Because it is very ridiculous. I'll say true.
Well, guys, I can say it is true.
Yeah.
London Underground was run with steam trains for 34 years. The electric train was invented in Germany.
You say cleaner coal was partly part of the
Yes.
solution. Don't think we're allowed to say there's any such thing as clean coal.
Cleaner.
For the 1800s, yeah. Cleaner than normal.
I believe
stuff.
we get executed for saying things like that.
Is cleaner coal basically just meant to be like pure coal or something? Like the purer it is, the cleaner it burns?
Oh, well, it's coke, so I think it's a different part of the purification process or something. I don't really understand. If I was a coal person, I would be able to tell you more, but I'm not.
Right.
Do you know sometimes pregnant women have some pregnant women actually have a craving for coal?
Kind of weird. Why?
Because, I don't know. They have cravings for all sorts of things, but apparently coal is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not making that up. If you type in Google pregnant women coal, it's a thing.
Well, anyway, there's a little thing here I want to tell you as well. So the electric train was invented in 1879 by this German bloke, Walter von Siemens. And he was
What was his last name?
von Siemens.
Von Siemens.
Von Siemens. It could be von Simons. I don't really know.
Nice.
And it was made, but nobody would invest in it. Strangely,
Because
yeah, I mean, you think about the guy that turned down the Beatles as being the worst decision ever, but he turned down the electric train. So you put his own money into it to make his own little line in 1881. And this is a little quote of a letter that he sent to his brother. So our electric railway is quite a spectacle here. It's running even better than expected. In just a few hours' time, around 1,000 people a day are being transported for a donation of 20 pennies to charity. The train carries 20 to 25 people and runs at roughly the pace of a horse-drawn tram. This is something we can certainly develop, says the inventor. If you're pulling 20 to 25 people at the speed of a horse, about 2 years after first inventing something, then that's pretty good.
Mm.
You know, it definitely had traction.
Pretty amazing given the speed they go today.
Yeah, electric trains go like 400 miles an hour sometimes.
Mental.
Ridiculous. But anyway, moving on.
Moving on. All right. Monopoly pieces emerged from fortune-telling cakes.
Fortune-telling cakes.
Uh-huh.
Right. So, okay, carry on.
So, you've probably seen the cake shows today. Like, they bake these cakes to make them look like things. So, like, oh, is that a cake? No, it's a 6-pack of beer or something.
Right.
Is that a cake? Or is that a car? No, it's a cake. That kind of thing. It's the trend today. But back in the day, real-world objects in the form of little metal trinkets were baked into the batter of the cakes.
That sounds dangerous.
Yeah.
Also, the batter of the cakes?
Yeah, because it starts off as a batter and then you bake it.
Okay, sorry, I'm not a baker. I don't know.
But these were, they weren't in every cake because that would just be awful. But these were specifically fortune-telling cakes. That was like a thing back in the day. They were sold up to the mid-20th century, so 1960, which is about 20 years before the Heimlich maneuver came into effect.
Oh.
But yeah, they contained small metal charms, which were baked right into the cake. Other cultures bake trinkets into the cake still, at the lesser degree, but France did it to celebrate an event called Epiphany by eating what's called King's Cake. It's sort of like a pastry. It's more like a pie. It's like a pastry thing with like an almond sort of filling. But there's a small hard charm inside of it. And if you ended up with a piece that had the charm in it, then you basically became king for a day.
Wow.
Not literal king. I think you were just sort of like the birthday boy. Or, you know what I mean? Like you were sort of like
basically whoever gave you the cake would come along and give you a song.
You probably get the
Some guy would blow a party popper above your head or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I think, but this is a tradition going back to the ancient Romans, so I think you probably get the prettiest floozy in there, I imagine. An Irish tradition, which included charms baked into a fruit loaf. These charms would include things like a penny, a cloth, a thimble, and a ring. This is usually practiced around what they call Samhain or Halloween. So a penny, if you got that, it means you would become rich. If you got a cloth, it means poverty. If you got a ring, it means a future wedding. And if you got a thimble, it means destitute forever.
Okay, so what about the actual Monopoly pieces? What do they represent? Because if we can go through them, if I can remember, there's a top hat.
There is a thimble.
There's a shoe.
Car.
And dog.
Is that it?
There's a flat iron as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. There's a clothes iron,
yeah. Yep. Victorian times they had the cake pull, so they didn't actually. Well, they had charms, but they were attached to wee ribbons in the cake because people were obviously getting tired of breaking their teeth. You just pull the ribbon, and depending on what charm you had in the end of your ribbon, that was your fortune, basically. But many of these resemble what are in the Monopoly board game today. In 1935, the Parker brothers bought Monopoly from a man called Charles Darrow, who conceptualized the game. He invented it. Darrow noticed his niece and her buddies were playing with metal trinkets from charm bracelets and like cereal boxes and stuff. And he then realized that Parker Brothers needed to add similar trinkets because Monopoly, when it first started, didn't have any player pieces at all. Instead, it was just like, well, use buttons from around the house or other shit. Parker Brothers, fortunately, already had a business relationship with Doust Manufacturing, who made fortune-telling cake pieces.
Mm-hmm.
That was their business. And that's where it came from. So Monopoly pieces emerged from fortune-telling cakes. True or false?
See, I thought this was like a sweets thing it came from.
What?
I thought it was like a sweets thing the pieces came from. So is he just adding the cake bit on?
No, that wouldn't.
No, transformative I don't think counts. If it's like a transformative story, that would be lying. Like, that would be dirty. You know what I mean? It's like half true. Oh, it's half true, but it's false. It's either all true or bollocks.
I have listened to a podcast on this. I just can't remember the details.
You ever had a fortune telling cake?
I've never had a fortune telling cake. No.
You ever had a
It
fortune
seems-
cookie? Fortune cookies, I think they're the evolution of a fortune telling cake.
Well, they're certainly a lot more compact.
It's more direct as well, you know.
Just literally just tells you instead of having
Yeah.
to interpret a little toy.
Go to bed with itchy bum, wake up with stinky finger.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I think.
I'm gonna say true because the pieces did come from something else. It wasn't the actual game. They just needed something to add the player pieces.
Sure, why not? I'll say true as well. I don't really have anything else to say otherwise.
I'm gonna be really annoyed if I'm wrong about this, but I've listened to a podcast explaining the history of this before, like and why everyone plays Monopoly wrong.
Would you be especially annoyed?
I would be especially annoyed, yeah. I just can't remember the details of the podcast.
So what are you saying? False? True?
I'm gonna say true.
Is that your final answer?
Mm-hmm.
True?
I'll say true.
Yeah, it's true.
I thought it was sweets, not cakes.
I think, I don't know if it's true or not, because I don't want to mention it in case it was bollocks, but I think it was like Cracker Jack. It was like,
Sounds familiar.
they weren't, they were, well, crackers. I don't really know what they were like. I think they were like maybe just sugary, crackery things.
Mm.
But you got like wee trinkets in those.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that must have been what it is. Because I remember the bit. They didn't have any pieces. You just used whatever you had and put on the board. And then it wasn't until later the company added because they already owned or had rights to something else. And they just put, like, right, we'll just use these.
Have you even actually ever seen a fortune telling cake? Like at a wedding or anything? Or no?
I've never even...
Party?
I've never heard of it until now.
Yeah, because they were sold up to the 1960s. Like you make your own. Like you bought the pieces and just dumped them in. And then,
Seems like a really dumb idea when you think about
You
it.
raid the
Yeah.
Monopoly box now.
yeah. And apparently the Heimlich maneuver only came into in the 1980s.
Yeah, that is what worries me. Is that how many people choked on their fortune telling toys?
Probably quite a few, but I'd say it's more broken teeth than anything.
Yeah, especially the little metal things.
Yeah.
I was thinking as well. I mean, if we're talking old stuff, they could have been made of lead.
Yeah, because apparently in one of these boxes too, it said in the instructions, wrap it in paper or like like a tissue when you're baking it in because you don't want the metal taste to transfer into the cake. So that tells me like probably was lead.
Also, everyone plays Monopoly wrong. And the game would go a lot quicker if you even just did one of the rules properly.
Oh, what's that?
I can't remember if it's you go around the board once, and then every property you land on after that, you have the choice to buy it. And if you don't buy it, it then automatically goes up for auction for access to all players to bid on, including yourself if you want to try and get it cheaper.
Oh,
This would
right.
result in all the properties being sold a lot quicker,
Yeah.
and therefore the game would move along a lot quicker
Ah.
instead of having to randomly wait until you land on the property just by throwing dice.
Is this an actual rule?
That's the actual rule. Yeah,
Are you saying that just so you can finally convince us to play a game of Monopoly?
no, it's the actual
Oh.
rule.
I wouldn't mind
There's
playing a game of Monopoly.
So I think in modern Monopoly sets they realized that people kind of like made up their own rules along the way, and they kind of made a new rule set based on what people most commonly did. So there's the normal rules, and then there's another thing called house rules, which is just what people would normally do.
So you land on the house and you pay rent or something, or you have to pay.
Yeah, something like that. And this whole thing about adding extra hotels or using or buying extra hotels, there's a set number of houses and there's a set number of hotels in the game.
Yeah.
So when people add extra pieces, this means another, like, you use Lego pieces to create like an entire Disney World resort on one of the properties.
Right.
That's not allowed. So yeah, if you actually stuck to the rules, the game would be a lot quicker.
See, they made like a faster paced one, didn't they? Though, like a game only lasts 15 minutes. It's like with a little card machine or something. It's meant to be. It's like a much smaller box. I don't know what it's called. Monopoly flipping Snap or Monopoly. I don't know.
Was that not just like because they had to be card machine and you'll had a credit card?
No, this is like Monopoly. No, I know what you're talking about, but that was like advertised years ago, like probably 10 years ago or something. But now this was like in the last year. I can't remember what it's called. It looked like a small sort of like top trumps box, but it's like card based. Just there's no actual board with it. I can't remember the name it's called. In fact, I'll look it up right now quickly. Just while I'm on this tirade.
I know the Monopoly these days. There's so many different themed sets you can get.
Yeah.
You get Monopoly for everything.
You've Game of Thrones, don't you?
I have a Game of Thrones Monopoly set, yes.
Game of Thrones Monopoly. It's obviously Star Wars.
I have a
Monopoly.
Star Wars one as well, yes.
Monopoly Deal card game. It's only £3 on Amazon.
Right.
We're not sponsored. But there you go then.
We're not sponsored, but we could be Mr. Bezos if you can afford it. You know, being the second richest man and everything.
Mr. Bezos has nothing to do with Amazon anymore, is he?
Is he?
I don't believe so. Did he not sell all the shares?
That's a good point, actually. I think he did. Or was it not that he got divorced or something?
No, I think he sold all the shares and he got divorced. Bill Gates basically sold everything. He has Microsoft as well, I believe. According to Forbes, if I'm reading this right, I think he currently owns just under 10% of the stock.
He's trying to get into like space flight now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's Blue Horizon, is it? Or
Yeah, he's trying to go down like the Richard Branson route of space tourism.
So he owns, as of November 4th, 2021, if I'm reading this correctly, according to Forbes, he owns just under 10% of its stock. So he's no longer the outright owner.
Yeah, because he's not. Yeah, he's no longer the richest man in the world. It's Elon Musk. So if Elon wants to sponsor this podcast,
We love you, Elon.
come on, help a little guy out. We're not asking him to do space or nothing, but you know,
We might start tracking your jet.
you could have some dude's shed logo on the side of your next rocket.
Do you not remember that story? Elon Musk offered a kid $50,000 to stop tracking his jet because the kid made a Twitter account and every time his jet landed somewhere, he reported it on Twitter. So Elon offered him $50,000 to stop it, and I think the kid came back with a counter offer. It's like, no, give me 200,000, something like that.
That's blackmail. That's not very nice.
50,000. That's a bribe.
No, the kid wanted more.
No,
the kid wanted.
it's
Okay,
blackmail when the kid does it.
the kid wanted more. Like,
Yeah, it's like literally stalking someone, and the guy offers you money to stop, and then you say, "No, I want more." That's criminal.
Gotta respect his hustle.
Dear.
wow.
Well, all I want to say is my favorite version of Monopoly is the communist Monopoly, where you go around the board and you can't buy anything because it's all state property.
Yes, and then
you basically you go through the cards until sometimes you land on a thing to pick up a card, and you get that you have mysteriously disappeared card, and that's you out of the game.
Gulag. You land in the gulag.
Oh, you land in the gulag.
when you go past go, do you get food rations?
Yeah, you collect two. You collect two of whatever currency it is,
All right.
and sometimes you land on go to gulag, and then you end up in the gulag.
There's a gulag in each corner and on each side.
Yeah. And there's no get out of gulag free card.
There's only 10 years.
Yeah.
Or as they used to call it, a tenner. Anyway, on
that sunny note.
those exciting Monopoly facts.
Well,
Till next time.
Till next time.
bye bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.